Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in this evening. We are live on Facebook Live, and we are doing the Woman Crush Wednesday, and our Woman Crush this week is Miss Brooke Graham.
That's me.
That's you. You can say hi to the audience.
Hey guys, I don't know which one.
Okay, so this one's Facebook Live. This one's going to be the professional one. You can look into that one, glance over there, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Look everywhere.
So many choices.
So many decisions to make. So, thank you for tuning in, first of all, and thank you for coming. I really am looking forward to this one because we don't really know each other. So this is basically just getting to know each other and hearing your story.
I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Good. So, first of all, you told me that you're a little younger. You're 21 years old, right? And congratulations on finishing yet another year at school, by the way. Brooke goes to UWO. She's studying criminology, and you're going into your last year in the fall?
Yes. Exciting and scary, but mostly exciting.
Mostly exciting? Mm-hmm. So tell me about you and your experience here in London, Ontario. Are you from London?
No, I'm not.
Where are you from?
I'm from Brampton.
Brampton. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how was life growing up in Brampton?
I was born in Mississauga, and I went to private school for majority of my life, and then I went to an art school secondly because dance is a really big passion of mine.
Yeah.
So from that, it's always a really interesting experience because throughout all of that, I've been one of the only black kids in like every single school that I've ever been to.
Really?
So.
Really? So how's that been? How's that experience?
It's interesting. It's the hardest part is always having to affirm your identity, but then not too much to make people uncomfortable. So people will be like, "Oh my God, Brooke, like you're so white, like you love Starbucks, like blah blah blah," and I'm like, "No, like I just enjoy things that people also do who may be white, but also Asian, so on and so forth." Da, da, da.
Right.
So that's always been like a really annoying struggle, just because I shouldn't have to confirm my black identity with anyone, but then also like people don't want you to be too ghetto, like too black,
right
because then
so what do you consider, like I don't really, when you say a black identity, like what does that mean?
It really depends on who you're talking to. Okay. So in the sense where like, and I've even come across like my own friends like who'll be like, "Oh my God, like Brooke's so white, like blah blah blah." Yeah. And in that sense I assume they mean that like it's like the Valley Girl mentality, like I'm in a sorority and I went to private school and like, you know, like I come from like an affluent upbringing, so apparently those things are parallel to being black in some world. Right,
so it's just still old school mindset and mentality a little bit that you're still dealing with?
Yeah, and it's like something small, like people don't realize like when they say it, like how it is offensive in a sense, because it means that like all the things that make me that are even like having to do with like money, like having to do with where I go to school, it somehow like coincides with being white, as if black people can't do these things. So
really, that still exists, huh? I thought, are we doing better than we once upon a time were? Like, I mean, obviously I'm, you know, a white kid from London, Ontario, and so I'll never be able to experience what you've experienced going through with something as minor as skin color, right? I mean, it's just skin color. It's not, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? I mean, it's what's in here that counts. So how long, like, did you feel different the whole time that you were going through the schooling? Like, did anyone single you out, or was it tough at times, or?
The worst one was in grade 1, where that was at the time where I was literally the only black person in my school, because that's before my sister came into school, and then we were the 2 black kids in school.
Are you serious? Wow.
It was a really small Montessori school, and I was just like doing whatever, like it was like arts and craft or something, and then a girl came up to me, and then she was just like, why don't you go back to Africa?
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I was like, we were so young, like we were 6, like so obviously like it's not something that she could have known, like it's something that she like heard, because her parents came in and like they were like so shocked, like they like apologized to me formally as like a little 6-year-old, like they like went to my parents, were like, "I can't believe like she said this," and like from that like they almost like forced us into a friendship. So
Are
like
you serious?
Throughout my whole entire years, like until grade 6, like she was like my like best friend, because like our parents like always like wanted us to be together, I guess, in order for them to like
feel better about what happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Atonement. Like
no kidding. So
she was like good after a while. She was just very surface level, and that's why like I guess our friendship didn't stick like past like the ages of like like 13.
Yeah.
But she's like a good person. Like it never ever, like race never ever came up again in our friendship. It came up,
in your friendship. So you're pretty much, you and your sister were the only black kids at Montessori, you said? And what grade was that till? Grade 8?
So that ended in grade 3, and then we went to a formal private school, and that one goes from like JK to grade 8.
Okay.
And
how was your experience there? Was it any different?
I was still the only dark-skinned black kid. There was a mixed kid in my class.
So you weren't completely alone, I guess, but still feeling pretty isolated, I guess.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have like a really strong sense of self. So like I never felt like the difference particularly. But when you get older, it's more like you're like, oh, like everyone has a crush on like so-and-so person. Like, why not me? Like, and then you're like, oh, like maybe it's just because like I'm like different looking.
right. For that particular spot, right? Wow. So that's after that you decided how did you decide criminology and how did you decide Western?
So initially I wanted to go into psych. A lot of my aunts, like they're psychiatrists, they're like all sisters and they're all psychiatrists.
Okay. That must be a fun family.
And I've always loved like people. Like that was my idea. I was like, I love people, so like let me do psych so I can like understand the mind. And in first year I did enjoy psych, but I took a sociology course and I was like, this is really what I want to know. Like not necessarily the brain itself, but human behavior.
Right.
And that's something more interesting. So I just decided to specialize in criminology because at the time I was like, like maybe I want to do law. Yeah. But I still really wanted just like that core base in sociology. And that's what Western's criminology program is. Like all of your programs are soc, like rather than crim.
Yep.
So I'm really happy with that decision.
Good.
Sociology, its best attribute is that it really gives you awareness of different experiences because like, yes, like I'm like a black female, but that's just one intersectional experience. Like think of like the transgender experience, think of the people with exceptionalities or disabilities. Like those are all different experiences that I'll never understand fully. Sure. But through my studies, I'm able to empathize better.
Right. Very, very interesting. You're a smart girl. I like how you're pointing all these things out. So do you have any idea in the future of which route you're going to go when you graduate, or is that still up in the air?
I really like the idea, and this could be like me being like optimistic.
That's okay. Stay that way. Trust me, there's lots of time to get the shit kicked out of you later in life. So keep that mentality.
It's just like we learn so much about media, and media holds so much power, right? Like it influences everyone. So if I go into communications and PR and could be the head of a non-for-profit or some way that I can convey different messages to people to allow them to know other people's experiences better, like that is my goal. Like if you change the message of media, like you can change our whole entire world, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's what I want to do. I don't really know how I'm gonna get there. Like I don't know what the thing on my business card is gonna say yet.
Sure.
But I'm just trying to penetrate that sort of way of thinking.
Good for you. So you want to make an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing. And I mean, use this anytime as you feel free. Come on here, bring people on here if you want to use this as a platform. By all means.
And that's what I was thinking. Like when you explained what you were doing, I was like, wow, like that is something really significant. Like hearing different people's walks of life. Yeah. Like people don't realize how much of an impact that makes of you as a person to be able to learn and then be like, oh, like this is how someone went about their life. Maybe I can apply this way of thinking to my own life, or maybe I don't agree with it. Yeah. And then why don't I agree with it?
Right.
So
that's
then
a big one,
really,
right?
Yeah, it just really digs at your layers. So it's something really cool.
Interesting. I really like your mindset already. I'm just getting to know you, but I like the way that you're thinking, and you're always, it seems like you look for different perspectives, which is really nice and refreshing. Because
I've had really good profs. Like they've really because I was like, oh, I'm so open and progressive, and then like someone was just like, hey Brooke, what do you think about smoking and drugs? And I was just like, people who do that are awful. And I was like, wait, like, why do I have this initial reaction to it? Like, right. And then that makes you dig at your own layers, and you're like, maybe I'm not so perfect and accepting of everyone.
So what's your feelings after your whole university experience of people that drink and do drugs and smoke and all that stuff? Have you changed your opinion on that?
I'm more open to it. So I'm not so stringent in the sense that I'm just like, people who smoke are deliberately like making the choice to like, because in my mind, like when I was a kid, I was like, okay, like smoking is bad. My favorite aunt smokes. Like, I wonder why. And then, like, and then she like always was like, I want to quit smoking. And I was just like, why didn't she quit smoking? And then my dad was like, the reason like your aunt is single is probably because she smokes so much. And I was like, smoking must be so bad.
Right, sure.
So now like I'm like, there's so many different reasons. Like it can go to lower socioeconomic status, like it can go to even mental health, because it's just another way of stimulating yourself, right? So there's lots of different ways. I for one still haven't smoked anything. I haven't done anything harder than Tylenol as of yet.
Really? Good for you. You're not missing anything. I've done a lot of that stuff, and trust me, it's better off. I've been sober for 16, almost 17. No, almost half a year, actually. Or a year and a half. 18 months will be this year, or this May. So, yeah, 18 months sober. Before that, I was a bit of a mess. I was one of those guys that would go out, drink, party, do blow, whatever. And it didn't serve me at all. It just made things worse. So... And let's get into the mental health stuff, because you and I kind of talked about it briefly before we started. So when you saw the title here, Sex and Suicide, what did you think? I'm always curious about...
Well, first I was like, I initially thought Sex and Submission. I was just like, oh, everyone's going to know that I watch porn now. So I was like, but then I like looked into like actually like what your page was, and I was like, oh, this is a lot about mental health, and sex and suicide are the two most like taboo like topics of discussion, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I was just like, I think that that's pretty significant as well.
I'm glad that you got that, because usually it's interesting. Every time that I hand out one of these cards, at first I felt like I needed to explain it right off the bat. But now I'll wait to see what people's reactions are, because it shows me what they've kind of been programmed to think about one or the other. Yeah. So you can see just by the reaction if they kind of jump or if they kind of like think about it for a minute. You can see just by handing them a business card, which is really cool.
It's true. It's not porn, everyone, just so you know.
It's not porn. We're not about to get naked and have sex on the table or anything like that. So tell me about your porn addiction. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So let's get into, you were originally talking about... you haven't experienced sort of... You've been one of the lucky ones where you haven't really experienced any anxiety. I'm sure you've experienced some anxiety. Everybody can. But you haven't had any bouts of depression or anything like that?
Yeah, so thus far in my life, everything that's been thrown at me has been, right? It's been very manageable. And I think that that's really great to say on like my family, the way I've been raised. Like I've had lots of support, and I've just been very, very fortunate in that sense. But when I came to university, you realize that people come from so many different places, and I was lucky enough to meet my really, really good friend. Now she's still my roommate, and she was at a very, very rough time in her life, and I never knew, because I saw her at a surface level. Oh, like she's my roommate, like, you know, like she gets a little bit sad when she's drunk, but like, you know, girls cry when they're drunk all the time. Yeah. And then and then things got very real as she began to become more comfortable with me. Yeah. And I just became her support system, and that was a really, really big part of my university experience, like just being there for her. And it was really, really hard at times, because you want to help this person and you want to be there for them, but then you're also like, I'm exhausted, and like staying by someone's bedside and you know, like tending to their wounds, like when it so happens to get to that point, is like a lot of pressure on one person. And like I would find myself like sitting in my car, like calling like the helpline, being like, am I doing enough? Like, is there something that I could have done differently? Like, she's still at this place, like what am I doing wrong that I can't help my friend out of this? Right. So it was really tough, and they were actually really, really good with that, and they told me that it's not on me. Like the real hardest thing about mental health is that it's something that has to come internally from that person. They have to go forth